Audioversity, the voice of Reichman University.
The Baseline. Stories from the court with Jonathan Reers and Mayor Cohen.
Hey Baseline listeners, I'm Mayor Cohen. Today I'm here with my co-host, John Reers.
What's up?
Today, John and I are going to bring you our first episode in our Baseline podcast series. We have a great episode interview with Ofek Reef. He's going to tell us about his story with Yeshiva University basketball and the great success they've had in the States, along with his career so far playing in Israel. We have lots of similar stories like this with Israeli League superstars and players in America, and we really look forward to telling their stories over your ears.
I'm really excited to share with you guys this podcast. I do believe that we have a unique platform that gives players the opportunity to share their story from America, all over Europe, and playing in Israel now. I really do believe it's going to be fun. I look forward to seeing you guys every single week. We're going to have some video clips as well. Let's get into it.
Now welcoming on a very special guest to the podcast. We got the man, the myth, Ofek Reef. We got a baller, man of the people. Thanks for hopping on with us. Just thanks for coming on the show. John and I were very excited, just to get a real baller on the show, someone with some serious basketball experience. How you doing?
Someone with some bounce, too.
Yeah, we were
that
watching.
Bugs Bounty bounce, bro.
Yeah, so we were watching the high school highlights. Those are crazy.
First of all, I appreciate you guys for having me on. I'm doing well. And besides that, the bounce, got to work a little bit on it.
Oh, yeah?
Here and there. Yeah. Lost it a bit. It's coming back.
It's coming back. How's it going in Hapoel Akko right now?
Hapoel Akko. It's going well. We're, I think, 8 games into the season, 7-1. And then, we have cup games also, so undefeated in the cup games. But, out here doing my thing, really.
There you go. All right, man, we wanted to just ask you a handful of questions about ball, about being in a Jewish high school, Jewish college, and wanted to just pick your brain a little bit. And my first question for you is, what really, I'm sure you get this a lot, but what brought you to play at Yavne Dallas, which is a modern Orthodox Jewish school, maybe not getting as much recognition as you would want, of going to like a prep school or something. What made that decision clear for you?
Right. So I was raised in the public school system up until junior year. My freshman year, I couldn't even tell you how many times I got hurt in high school, but I was bouncing from injury to injury. I was having some arguments with some of the coaches. I was transferring a lot also. So, at the end of the day, I knew the coach over at Yavne through the Maccabi games, the USA Maccabi games. And, he was biting my ear off, trying to convince me since 9th grade, you got to come to Yavne. Like, you'll get better looks. You'll get better looks here because you'll actually play. You'll put up numbers, this and that. And I just kind of ignored them, For me, going to a modern Orthodox Jewish school wasn't even in the picture at that point. And I got to my junior year, I didn't play. I transferred once again my junior year. And at that point, I realized, look, like I can play AAU junior and senior year, but it might not give me the recognition and, what I really need to get out of basketball to get to a collegiate level. So, I decided to hold myself back a year, redo my junior year at Yavne. So I did 2 years at Yavne, 5 years of high school.
So what you're saying is that you think you got more recognition because you went to Yavne?
Right. I think it doesn't matter where you play. You could be at a 1A school, 6A school. I know every state has their own divisions, but Texas-wise, 1A is the smallest. You got 20 kids that go to the school. If you can hoop, you can hoop. People are going to find you no matter where you're at. So it doesn't matter where you play. If you're putting up the numbers, people are coming, people are talking about you. The recognition you're going to get that recognition.
Right, for sure. I actually had a question for you. I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. I'm Mayor Cohen, big basketball fan in general, big fan of what you did at YU, which kind of, leads up to my second question. I'm from a small high school, right, in Chicago, and a lot of those guys, it was, modern Orthodox high school, kind of similar to Yavne, but their dream was to play for YU. And, it's kind of crazy because everyone's from different backgrounds on that YU team. I wouldn't say that most of those guys grew up thinking, oh man, one day I want to play for YU. I'm sure there was a handful, but a lot of them just had those, unique basketball journeys that led them to be at YU. So with that being said, the way you guys were playing obviously so well at YU ended up bringing, that attention and that media and that hype to the way you guys were playing. So at what point in your career at YU did you really feel like, wow, it all paid off, like going to those schools, 5 years of high school, and then you guys finally made it, you started playing well together, and when did that really click that you guys were going to be something special?
I can tell you the moment I went on that visit, my senior year of high school was really when I went out there. I stayed with some of the guys, watched them tear apart Brooklyn College, I think by 40. And the most intriguing part of that game that I watched was just they don't set ball screens. We don't set ball screens. So like you're watching the game as someone who doesn't know the offense, and you're like, okay, if this guy who doesn't look like he knows anything about basketball is scoring 15 points, and you got everyone's contributing to the game offensively and defensively. That's a system where everyone can thrive, especially if you're lacking. Maybe you're not the best shooter. You can't finish under the rim very well. So it really just brings out the best in everyone's games, because you can, if you're not a good finisher, you're flaring out for a three. You got backdoor cuts to finish at the rim. So when I was watching that, I kind of really just said, you know what, I think YU is the place I got to go. And it's also, I spoke with Coach Steinmetz. You want to go to a place where you're wanted. You don't want to
exactly.
I know a bunch of kids, that I graduated with, that went to public schools, that are sitting D1 bench right now, riding it. They haven't touched court since 3 years ago. So, instead of saying, oh yeah, I go D1, okay, let's pull up the stats real quick. 0 minutes, 0 points, 0 nothing, right? So, you go D3, and like I said, if you're a hooper, people will find you. It doesn't matter where you're at, right?
For sure.
Ryan's G League hooper. I'm overseas.
We'll get to Ryan. We'll get to Ryan.
Both the Halperts are overseas also. So, it's just doesn't matter where you go, like I said. But, that I think my senior year, I was like, okay, I think this is the best decision for me. I had a few other colleges I was looking at.
From a non-basketball aspect, what were you thinking about YU?
Oh, dude, interesting. It's a interesting world, right? Obviously, I'm Israeli. I grew up, I was born in Tel Aviv, but growing up outside of Dallas, not many like black hats or like Orthodox Jews where I grew up. Especially going into the public school system. So the first minute I got off the plane and I got to YU, I was like, dude, what the hell? I was like, what?
I can imagine
what is going
that.
on
That's
here?
crazy. They're crazy over there sometimes.
Right. And, it kind of took me a while to get adjusted to it. And, I look back and that's one of the reasons why I left a year early, which, we can go into that a little bit later if you guys want. But, I just, I wouldn't say I didn't fit in, but I didn't fit in, it was just it wasn't my crowd, obviously I had some of the guys who weren't as religious. So, I'd hang out with them, we go out. But majority of the time, Friday, Saturday came around and I'm stuck in my apartment on my phone, or I'm playing Xbox. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, dude, why am I not at a state school playing ball there, right? Like I can go out, party Friday, Saturday night, and I'm just like, you know what? We'll stick through it.
Right. Do you feel at all that kind of culture of I'm sure they're focused on their studies a lot in school, but do you think that really helped lift the ball team in kind of like the situation where there wasn't too much, outside distraction in terms of, party and having a good time? Obviously that takes away from the experience a little bit, but do you feel that kind of maybe locked you into, becoming that baller?
I'm not going to lie to you. I feel bad. I feel bad for Coach. He for sure knows also, but you got guys, especially last year's team. I think it was more spread out where we had very religious guys, and then we had like low end of the scale like me, where nobody, we don't keep Shabbat. I'll keep kosher, but Shabbat, we had people going out, and we're throwing parties left and right. So you still get a college experience. It's just a very interesting college experience.
Yeah.
You're on campus with a bunch of guys. You're not You're not seeing girls in class. So it's like, for me, it was just very weird being there and like just getting adjusted to everything. But, basketball wise, I think the thing that helped us out the most was not even, not being able to go out and do stuff. It was more of the fact that, we had my freshman year, we had Tyler Hode, who's now in rabbinical school, becoming a rabbi, talking to us pregame,
Yeah,
giving
they don't have
tours
that
and
at Duke,
everything.
though. That's what makes it different.
I mean, they have Coach Schreier now, so who knows?
Exactly.
But,
So
I think that respect between, the guys who aren't religious and the guys who are religious, and, nobody's really saying much about it. I'm not going over to someone and clowning them for being religious, and he's not coming over to me trying to like push being religious on me. So, that respect off the court kind of translated on.
That's great. So you touched upon how you left school like a year early. What made that decision spark? Why did you decide to come here and play professionally?
Right. So, I had a great opportunity over summer. I played in the Maccabi games in Israel with honestly great players, great coach. I think everyone on that roster besides me and two other kids were D3. Everyone else was, D1 or Ivy League. So, I got a phone call about 2 weeks before it happened. I went to tryouts. It was good hoopers, everyone, from all levels. But, they called me after the tryouts and they said, look, we got a 3-on-3 spot for you. I told them, no, thank you. I'm not playing 3-on-3. Then, coaching adjustments. This coach got a job at a D1, so he can't do it anymore. A new coach comes on. He's got to go coach somewhere else. And then comes along Doug Gottlieb. Don't know if you've heard of the guy. Used to be a sick basketball player at Oklahoma State. Led the NCAA in assists. And I want to say he works for Fox now. Crazy guy. But very, very nice dude. Called me about 50 times. Didn't pick up because I just didn't know what the number was for like Philadelphia number, which was the assistant coach. 2 weeks before, I even have to be out in New Jersey for training camp. And I told him, I was like, look, realistically, am I going to play? You're calling me 2 weeks before. You're probably just trying to fill a spot. And, in the end, I talked with Coach Thomas, talked with my parents, and I just ended up going just, to meet people and to have the experience of just, being in Israel with like-minded people, meeting new people, And in the end, I got a good opportunity. I played in several of the, I want to say round robin games, and championship game comes along. I'm 2 days before I get tested strep. I'm positive for strep. So I'm in bed with like 102 fever. And I'm thinking, oh shit, I'm not gonna play. And the staff tells me, yo, you gotta go pick up your own medicine. I was like, why? So it's just like, I had to text Coach Gottlieb. They kind of ran around the place, and they ended up bringing me my medication Sunday, championship Sunday.
Oh man!
At noon, right?
That's Israel for you, though.
Take into account, I haven't gotten out of bed. I haven't gotten out of bed for about 2 days. I was stuck in bed for 2 days.
That's like it's all MJ's, his flu game. That's just your
right.
And
if you go look at my Instagram, I posted about it. Oh, strep game.
There you go.
Legit.
I like the foreplay coming in.
That's really nice.
So I take the medication at noon, and I'm like, you know what? I'll go to practice. I'll see how I feel. I think we do like these jogs to warm up. Jog like twice around the court. I'm like, nah, dude, like, I can't play. So I talked with the coach. I was like, look, bro, like if I play, it's gonna be maybe like 30 seconds to a minute. Pull me out, I'll go right back in. But I think I ended up playing about 35 minutes in that game.
Wow, 35.
I want to say 16. Locked up their
late 16.
Yeah,
late 16.
There you go on the flu game.
I can tell you it was not light. But that got me a lot of recognition out here in Israel. I had coaches reaching out to me, agents reaching out to me, and NCAA rules. I couldn't really talk to them, so I just sent them over to my dad, and was like, "Yo, you talk to him." in the end, it was just kind of a situation where I was having problems with the school, which I'm not really gonna get into because I want to do YU like that. So
Got you.
it was more of a situation where, I can finish my studies online, which I'm in the middle of doing right now, and I get to play and make a career out of what I love to do. So it was kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, there you go, student athlete there. That's really doing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a professional student athlete.
Yeah, that's how you got to go.
So going back to Yavne and Yeshiva, I've always been curious. I played at MIMO, and we played against a bunch of Catholic schools and whatnot. But me personally, I never experienced any like anti-Semitism going on. But since you guys really got like a spotlight on you, and like everything was shining on you guys for a solid minute, and then like even now people are still talking about it. People are talking about Ryan and all that. But I just want to hear from you if you guys experienced any anti-Semitism in the locker rooms, off the court, on the court, all that.
I mean, high school, I don't think that I didn't hear anything, maybe here and there. It wasn't anti-Semitism. It was just people talking to me off, cause dropping 30 on them. So they're just kind of pissed off. They're kind of pissed off.
They got nothing else to say.
I had parents yelling at me saying I'm a grown ass man. I mean, I was 18 at the time. I had a beard, so yeah, not wrong. I am grown. But, high school is like you said, we also played Catholic school. So, you go in, you see some paintings, you see like the paintings themselves were the most anti-Semitic things we see.
Wow.
In high school. When I got to YU, I didn't have any situations. I think I had one at NJCU. I honestly couldn't even recall what he said to me, but
was this a player or a fan?
It was a player.
Oh wow.
On my way to the free throw line, he said something. I don't even listen to him.
Yeah.
It's just, best way to shut him up is to beat him. So
yeah, there you go. I mean, you guys had some serious success there. So I mean, as a fan watching, for me, I was just always thinking like, you hear all this time about this anti-Semitism, but it's good to hear from you that like I feel like there was just so much respect in that area, especially when you guys were on that hot streak. That people were more impressed than even jealous or something. And it was something that was never been done before, which is obviously really cool. And I kind of wanted to segue into another question. Like, you guys, in your obviously amazing run that you had there, I'm sure, maybe it started out, they had some things available for you guys, but as you guys were getting better and getting, more recognition for the program, I'm just assuming maybe there were some more things that they kind of threw in there that they didn't have before. Maybe was to help you guys prepare for the games or something, or to have you guys help recover in that kind of way. Did something change along the way? Did they get better equipment, or was it kind of just the same way the whole time?
So my freshman year, it was very steady. Like we have one trainer. And that's it. Yeah. And that's one trainer for 6-7 sports. So,
crazy.
You got to go in online. I got an appointment with Xavier at 3:00, right? And then I got to go to class at 3:30. So it's kind of like, it's kind of an issue it was an issue with the trainer because, we didn't have proper equipment, right? Like we didn't have Normatex. We didn't have anything that you really needed, where you could just go in and you put it on yourself. You don't need the trainer. We had a gun where we could shoot, it would rebound, but that broke down halfway through the year. And nobody fixed it. That's basically it, like we'd want to get into the gym. We text security. We'd be like, yo, like we need the gym open. Or, we text Greg, our AD, and we say, look, we need the gym from here, from this time to this time. We close the gym down, and, all the students would just watch from outside the gym when we play pickup. But my sophomore year, that was COVID year, so we only had 7 games. It was about the same. Gun wasn't working, shooting out.
Nothing's working the way it's supposed to be.
Nothing changed, and I was asking for Normatex and all this gear for Xavier, our trainer, to have, because why is he putting up with 15 kids walking into his office?
Exactly.
Saying, look, I got a calf contusion, or I got this and that. And, he's trying to juggle everything all at once. So, junior year comes around and we get all this brand new equipment, which is the Normatex, the hypervolts and like all the stuff that a program needs for their athletes. And I'd go in there every day. I just sit there for an hour, put the Marmotex on, I fall asleep. I just, 'cause I was just so happy. It took them 2 years to actually get the equipment we needed, but outside of the training stuff, we really didn't have much. It was like we really came out the mud.
Exactly. I'm curious how that compares to what you're playing with now and what you have here at your disposal. How does that? Is it better? Is it worse? I mean, you got more available to you. You got less.
I'd probably look. I got a weight room.
Okay, that's better than nothing.
I got a weight room, but it's we have trainers. They're not at the basketball courts. If you get injured, you gotta go get your X-rays, your MRIs. You gotta get all that stuff done, and then after you do that, then you go work out with the trainer. But I mean, it's really up to you. Third league is so much different than second and first league out here. We practice 3 times a week. We have a game Sunday, once a week. So it's truly different. Like when I came out here and I started playing, I was like, dude, 3 practices a week is crazy, right? Like we practice 5 times, maybe 6 times a week before season started, and then we practice maybe 3-4 times a week when we had games. So I mean, just knowing how to take care of yourself and your body. If your body's hurting, I got a good coach who respects it. So if you tell him, look, like can't go today, still got to come to practice, but you just sit on the side, you watch, try to get someone to improve yourself by watching and learning from the vets that we have on the team.
Right, 100%. Also, yeah, I figured that you probably learned how to take care of yourself when you had none of that equipment in those first couple of years. So I mean, that's a skill. Maybe if you played at some bougie college and you have to come overseas, because you see a lot of these guys. We're in Herzliya, right? B'nai Herzliya is right here. They have all these American guys. And John and I always think how it's interesting, changing from, D1, maybe they played some G League, maybe they played some other places overseas, and they come over here, they're in Herzliya. It's a nice place, but, you're playing in front of, a handful of fans every night, and maybe they don't have all the equipment and how they have to adjust. So, it's interesting to hear from you how you really adjust, throughout that whole career and, every stage that you had, which is really cool. I wanted to ask when, at what point did you always have the goal to play in Israel? At what point did you realize, in your career that, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to be here and I want to, start balling in Israel?
I think it was kind of like instilled in me at a young age. My grandfather was, he's a diehard Maccabi Tel Aviv fan. He's kind of crying right now since I'm playing for the Hapoel team. But I mean, realistically and just being truthful to myself, it was more like I know I can't make the NBA. I'm not 6'8", I'm not 6'9". Yeah, I'm athletic, but these guys that are 6'1", 6'2", they're taking off from the free throw line.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just a different type of athleticism. So, I kind of pictured myself playing in Israel. The European basketball is also a completely different game than the NBA and anywhere in the States. So, I mean, for me, it was just where can my game translate the best? And I thought, from a young age, I could translate it over to Euroball.
Is your plan to stay in Israel, or if you got the opportunity somewhere in Europe, you'd take it?
Ideally, I'd want to stay in Israel. Where that's end of the season conversation with the agent. Obviously, what teams are interested. Where I could sign to. Maybe even as a practice player for a first league team. But it all depends. If the situation's right, it's always possible. I don't want to say no because. I mean, that's part of basketball, right? Like you want to travel, like you get the opportunity to go to a different country and be there for a year. I don't see why you wouldn't take it.
So from what I'm hearing is like in your head is just like my profession is going to be basketball, and wherever the opportunity lies, I'm going to grab that.
Right.
So we were talking about for a minute before about our boy Ryan. Popped off last night. You see that 21-point game?
Yeah, crazy
8
game,
for 10.
I loved it.
That is efficient.
He's
that
looking
is
quick out there, He's like, I don't know. I feel like, it's his first, regular season game. They're really getting him in, 18 minutes, and he's putting up, 10 shots. He's getting comfortable. What do you think the ceiling is over there for Ryan? Like, how do you feel he's going to play out the rest of the season?
I wish him the best. That he really took me under his wing when I got to YU. So me and him are boys. I still talk to him here and there. So ceiling that's I think it's through the roof. Like it's through the roof, right? You look at that roster and you're like, who there can really shoot the ball like Ryan? Besides maybe Buddy, nobody. And no disrespect to Bohan, but
Buddy Boeheim, if he's fighting Ryan Terrell for minutes, it's kind of crazy to think about.
No disrespect to Buddy, but I just don't think he's like Ryan.
He's not like Ryan.
Not built the same.
It's kind of a situation where you gotta kind of get comfortable. He came off an injury before the season, so I think he's still. I think he's finally starting to get into his groove. After yesterday, he should be feeling 100% with the shots he's taking. He was getting shots with the 3-4 minutes the coach was giving him earlier in the season. I think that has a lot to do with it. Ryan's a confident player, and if the coach isn't instilling confidence in his players, it's an issue anywhere you go. If your coach is bagging you down, you're not going to shoot, and if you do shoot, you're going to shoot poorly. So I think now the coach understands. He's like, look, like, this kid can hoop, and like that.
Yes, sir.
I think we all knew that Ryan could hoop.
Yes,
right?
sir.
You ask anybody.
I remember coming to the gym one time, playing with you, and then Ryan's like, "You gotta play me 1-on-1." I'm like, "All right." I'm like standing above him. I doesn't do shit. Like he can't see me. He literally can't see me. Just shooting.
Right. Look, that's how I felt 3 years at YU. Right? I'd have to guard Ryan in practice because I was like if nobody else is gonna guard him, I'll guard him.
It seems like he also has a good opportunity playing under the Pistons, who aren't the strongest team.
Right.
There's definitely room for opportunity there. Say whatever, people get hurt, people get traded, whatever happens, and he keeps balling like this. We could see a potential NBA viewing of Ryan Terrell.
That's what we're trying to see. And while we're on the topic, we've got about 4 minutes left of this Zoom, so that's what we're going to call for our timer. We want to, we're going to talk a little bit more on this cast today in today's episode, a little bit about our, MVP predictions. We just saw some crazy stuff going on in the NBA. Just from you, we want to hear it from you, a baller. However much you're following the NBA this year.
Is that Dallas?
Dallas. You got Luka doing some crazy stuff.
Gotta go, Luka.
There we go.
That was ridiculous.
You don't even got to give me a list, bro. I'm taking Luka. 60, 20, and 10. Come on,
bro. That was
ridiculous.
That was
ridiculous. He's carrying, but, I just want to get your take. Like, who do you feel like, we got the top 5 teams? Because I think everyone's saying the Celtics. I think everyone's saying, maybe the Bucks, although they've been struggling. Then round out the rest for me. What are your top 3 besides for those guys?
Top 3, obviously it's definitely the Celtics. Like you said, I just don't see the Celtics winning. Sorry to tell you,
winning it all,
man. Me neither.
Do you see them coming out of the East?
They struggle when it comes to playoff time, and when they play legit teams, right?
Last year they were looking good.
They looked good.
Well, they got to the finals, bro.
No ring, man.
I didn't see Dallas in the finals last year.
Hey, I will say though, they look better than the Celtics, and they don't have much. I'll tell you that.
That's true. That's true.
They don't have much.
They did have an impressive win of the Suns.
And the thing, we ate them.
Yeah,
we ate them.
Luka wasn't taking D-Buck's shit.
If they don't get Luka help, that's probably
they got to do something, man. They just made that Dirk statue outside. How long is it going to be before that Luka statue's there? Dirk was there for 21 years. He got one. Yeah. He got one chip. So I feel like this is primetime Luka. The guy's 23 years old. I think he got at least 3 or 4 years left of prime Luka basketball. They got to pull some strings.
They got to put something.
Got a little more than that.
Okay, more than 3 or 4.
It's because his game is just so different. And that's the thing. Now that we're seeing all these EuroLeague guys coming in, the game's changing. Which I don't like watching NBA. I think I maybe watched 2 or 3 basketball, like legit NBA games this year. It sucks. The game sucks.
It's true.
There's nothing good about the game. There's no defense. You know, the only good thing about watching the NBA is watching John Morant try to baptize someone. That's about it.
Dude, he's crazy. But exactly what you're saying, I've been thinking too. I've been telling Mayor this like all year. EuroLeague is on the come up. And like it is a serious league now that players in America are like, all right, I want to go ball in Israel. I want to go ball in France. I want to go ball in Greece. All these places.
And there's good money in all these in all these leagues also. And there's better competition. And the game is so much different. And the reason Luka, Jokic, you know, all these guys who are coming over from the EuroLeague are dominating the NBA. One, there's no defense. Zero
Exactly.
defense.
Different ball game.
Two, the court, it's not smaller, but there's no room, right? There's more defense. So the paint is compact. You can't just get into the paint whenever you want. Here, Luka gets to the paint whenever he wants. Jokic gets to the paint whenever he wants because nobody helps. There's no defense. So that's why we're seeing crazy numbers like 60, 20, and 10. You know, Jokic 40, 25, and 8, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because these guys they dominated in Euro because the game is just so much more different.
Right. It's much more open game you have here. You know, in the U.S. and in the NBA. Hopefully, you know, we're going to see some crazy end of the season. We got about 40 seconds left on the Zoom, so I just wanted to say, you know, this was amazing. We had our first experience, our first guest. We're both very excited to make this happen. It really worked out.
Tune in, The Baseline, man.
The Baseline podcast soon
Weekly.
out on all platforms.
We got Ofek coming up right now, and now we got Simcha and Eitan on the way. We got... Hopefully Ryan will get some point.
You know, we're working on it.
I'll talk to him. I'll reach out.
There we go. Yes, sir.
There we go. Our plug.
When Simcha and Eitan come out, I hope that we can see you too. Maybe we'll get some runs in. Kick your ass again.
Yo, for real though, we appreciate you coming on. It was very easy, great conversation, and you know, hopefully another time in the future. It was a great time. We appreciate it.
Actually, בהצלחה. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. All right, that was great. We had Ofek with us.
Ofek Reef on the cast, the baseline.
The baseline, the first cast. Great guy, man.
That was a great guy. That was a great interview. You know, I really liked, you know, really digging him about the YU. And, you know, what I was trying to reach with that question is how the equipment kind of upgraded. And like you said, when he started playing his junior year, you know, post-COVID, I'm sure they really improved all their equipment because I feel like if you're Yeshiva University, if you're YU, you're realizing that you're on ESPN, you're in the New York Times.
Yeah.
People are writing about you when you won 30 games in a row, when you won 40, and especially when you won 50. What are you doing to help that basketball team and to help the program grow, to get new players, to continue this? Because everyone wants to watch Jews ball out. It's not even
just as the basketball program. It is a program. As a university is a business. And if they are promoting their yeshiva basketball team, they should be giving them the essentials that they need to keep them at that level. He was saying before the equipment upgrade, he didn't get like the most... He didn't get the most help that he could have had. Like, he could have gotten hurt more often without the trainer.
100%. He was saying one trainer for 6 or 7 sports, which is crazy.
That's
nuts. And these guys, as I said before, they're running 5 practices a week. They've got, I don't know, let's say 2 games a week. And you got a class at 3:30 and you're getting in with the trainer at 3. That's a little bit crazy. And for me, I really feel, you know, so much respect for these guys, for what they've been through and you know, how they had to, you know, fight throughout all of college and how they, you know, they beat all the odds, man. 50-0. Just an unbelievable run. It was great having Ofek on, and I wish him all the success. He's a baller. He's a great player.
You know,
and that flu game, you know, that cold game. That's a cool story. Imagine having a strep throat, and you got a game. He ends up dropping what he says.
Drops 16.
16. You know, in some professional ball, like it's nothing. So that's very impressive.
Very.
You know?
I was actually kind of surprised when he said that he didn't really experience any anti-Semitism playing on that team. Like, we are seeing such an uprise with it now. And we're seeing, like, people talking about it so much. But this team that was fully Jewish and wearing kippahs on the court, they had a lot of recognition. We didn't see it. He didn't see any anti-Semitism besides for that one guy, which still, it sucks. But you would expect more, wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah. As I was saying before, and I brought up, you know, I feel like they were really, you know, began to be respected as, you know, as a real team, as someone to be, you know, a force to be reckoned with, which they were, of course. And it's cool to see that, you know, maybe that respect did pan out into, you know, not a lot of anti-Semitism. And, you know, it's a team from New York. It's a team like, you know, just a bunch of Jews in New York balling out. They had a great time. You know, he was telling us about the success, and it's cool. It really opened them up for all those opportunities. You know, I wonder, you know, the team did so well, and it really feel like it set those guys up for success. You know, if all those pieces weren't at YU and they didn't go 50-0 and they didn't get all those headlines, would Ryan have had the opportunity to play in the G League? You know, would his name have been out there on draft boards? Would Ofek have had the same opportunities in Israel if that team didn't, you know, perform so well? So it's cool to see all those, you know, all the aspects, you know, coming together and really helping these guys out in their basketball careers and in their careers in general. You know, as we talked about before, whether he's playing in Europe, there's money to be made.
Definitely.
There's a lot of cool stuff they could do with their careers. And I liked what he said. You know, there's a Dallas guy, so he had Luka, obviously Luka with 61, 20, and 10, I believe, last night. When I saw that stat line, I was like, you know, if he dished out 20 assists, that's crazy. But it was 20 boards, and this guy is, you know, he's a guard for the most part. He plays a little bit of guard forward, and he's just scooping 20
I think
boards.
it has to go with exactly what we were saying about the EuroLeague. The EuroLeague is a very tough. They're breeded to be tough. These guys are scrappy. They know how to get the ball. They know how to play physical. Luka knows how to play slow and physical. So that's why he can finish at such crazy angles, and why he's getting these boards is because he's a big boy. He might not look like the biggest boy in the court, but he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah. So like him getting 20 boards obviously is surprising, but it doesn't surprise me to the sense like this is Europe basketball. That's what it is. And Ofek was saying it perfectly. The basketball world is shifting to a world sport and not just a USA sport.
Definitely. We saw that from Ofek, and we will for sure see that from Jason Sagers, who is our guest next week. We're both very much looking forward to that interview.
I'm excited to see him. It's been a minute.
Been a minute.
Bro, he's from Dallas, just like Ofek, and I think that he can really give us a different perspective of what it's like to be living around the world, playing basketball around the world, what it's like for an American dude to come and play in all these different places. And I'm really excited. This episode was great. Mayor, I loved having Ofek here.
There we go. Let's kill it next week.
Baseline episode 1.
Baseline episode 1 done. Looking forward to number 2 with Jason Sagers. We'll catch all the listeners on the flip side. Thanks for being here. Have a good day. Good night. Let's go.
The Baseline. Stories from the court with Jonathan Reers and Mayor Cohen.
All our shows and podcasts available online on our website and on all podcast platforms. Search Audioversity.
University.